Okay, so a while back, someone asked me if I would do some more of the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat fights. And he threw out Goro and Zangief. I thought, that sounds pretty interesting. Goro, of course, was a sub-boss in the first Mortal Kombat. And at that point in time, all the bosses for most video games that were 2D fighters were ridiculously cheap, super overpowered, and nowhere near balanced. As he became a playable character, he became a lot more balanced. So we look at the playable version of it. And like I said, with Zangief. Zangief was pretty much your power wrestler when he was brought in. Super Russian, super strong. I believe he wrestled bears before, that's why he has all the scars and scratches all over his body. Also had a feud with Mike Hagar. He was the guy where, he didn't have a lot of projectiles, but if you were able to close the distance between your opponent and Zangief, Zangief owned people flat out. And then when he got into the versus Capcom, they actually gave him the ability to have a transformation. So I'll go into that one later. I do these differently from my comic book ones, and that I really can't do certain attributes are more difficult to try to go with. So it's a lot smaller number of things. It's experience. How long has this character been doing what they're doing? In close. This, of course, is what is it like when they're fighting at the really, really close range. Reach. This is more of your mid-range. You're still within striking distance, but you're a little bit farther out from your more or less clinch. Strength. When they did moves, are we looking at a much, much larger amount of damage? Speed. How fast does the sprite move? Energy projectile, this is your distance, and versatility. This is, when it comes to your moves, how varied is your overall moveset. So I'll get right into this. Experience. Well, that one actually has to go to Goro. Goro is, I believe, a dragon race who I think has won 9 Mortal Kombats. I think winning the 10th one would actually allow them access to control the Earth Realm. So he's been around for many, 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 many years and has a tremendous amount of experience when it comes to these sorts of large-scale fighting combats. Zangief does not. In close. This is that when they're both close, who ends up having a greater advantage. And this one's because, alright, we can give this one to Zangief. If you've ever played Zangief, pretty much every move you did up close did either a suplex or a power bomb, or, it'd be like a headlock, or you'd crunch the guy in the stomach. You also get to include, this is your spinning powder, this is your final atomic buster, this is your final atomic blaster. These are all the different moves that he had in close range. Just a litany of moves in close. Reach. As things get a little bit farther apart, now you start seeing Goro having a much greater advantage. Zangief, really great in close. The farther you get out, the more it's going to favor Goro. Strength. I'll probably hear it for this one. You're probably thinking Goro, 4 arms, he's got to take strength. Then goes Zangief. And if there is where I go with Zangief, is he did actually, people he was fighting against, you do have Hulk, you do have Juggernaut. When they did the crossovers, he was showing that he had a strength level that put him relatively close to some of the really, really top tier individuals. Speed. Goro was very, very slow. Zangief was actually a little bit faster when you're looking at overall sprite maneuverability. Energy projectiles. Sorry, Zangief, you didn't have any. Goro actually had a fireball, pretty decent damage, pretty decent range. Yeah, I can say Zangief had the spinning clothesline to evade that, as well as he had like a spinning backhand, something they called the green glove for a while, which also could block projectiles. But I'm looking at what you can do at distance, not your defense capabilities at distance. And now versatility. This is also going to go to Goro. Goro had a tremendous amount of additional skills, whether it was jumping up and pounding the ground, having a taunt that dealt damage. He had a lot more varied moves, where Zangief was almost entirely a wrestler. So if we're looking at Goro versus normal Zangief, this is definitely going to go Goro's way. If it stays in close, Zangief can put a hurting on it, but as this fight gets farther and farther away, the advantages that Zangief has are just not going to matter that much. I did mention that Zangief was actually given an upgrade. He was given the ability to become a Mecha Zangief. He became a lot stronger. Most of his moves ended with explosions. He ended up having the ability to breathe fire. But he couldn't block. but no attack slowed him down, and he was a lot slower. So, we're going to go through this again. This seems to be Mecha Zangief. Ironically, experience is going to stay the same. So because you're a robotic version of a human, it doesn't mean you're going to have that much more experience versus someone who's been around for centuries. You're in close. Again, this is, if this is regular Zangief takes it, Mecha Zangief takes it easily. Reach. Here's where it gets kind of bizarre. They threw in a lot more moves for Zangief. Now all of a sudden as the fight gets a little bit farther away, sure, Mecha Zangief is a lot slower. But they did give him abilities that allowed him to actually do things at mid-range as well as close range. Strength, still Mecha Zangief. Speed, Mecha Zangief was ridiculously slow. So now all of a sudden Goro was going to take it in speed. Energy projectiles. Yeah, Mecha Zangief was given things like the fire breath, but he didn't have anything that was a full screen ability. Versatility. But this one is actually going to go to Mecha Zangief. If anything else, every time Mecha Zangief got a hold of somebody, the moves are going to have explosions to them. He pretty much all of a sudden just be like, I'm going to slam you to the ground. So I'm going to slam you to the ground, and guess what? When you land, there's going to be a small explosion. Now all of a sudden, you've got a fire-breathing robot that can take damage and does not stop coming forward. And the moment Mecha Zangief gets a hold of Goro, yeah, he is going to tear him limb from limb from limb from limb from limb from limb.